Hello, I have 4 new foundations to review and give you my thoughts on in today's foundation roundup. You'll see how they apply, what they look like on me, and how they wear, as well as what skin types I think would benefit the most from each. This video is long overdue. There's been a big gap between my last foundation roundup and this one. I'm already testing new foundations for my next foundation roundup. What's actually on my face today is the newly reformulated Too Faced Born This Way. I'm on day 3 of testing it, so be on the lookout for that foundation roundup much sooner than I got this one to you. What we're talking about today is the quietly reformulated Estee Lauder Double Wear Powder Foundation, Clinique Even Better Clinical Foundation, L'Oreal Skin Ink Foundation and Concealer, and Versed Skin Solution Multi-Serum Skin Tint. This has been out for a little bit, but I hadn't tried it before. It's newly available to Ulta, and since it's Merit's less expensive line, more affordable line, there's been some curiosity around it. I have some thoughts about each of these, some good, some not so good, so we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I test a lot of foundations, concealers, primers, complexion products in general here on my channel because I'm 50, and as we get older, it just gets harder and harder to find the right products. So let's go ahead and get into these foundations and see how they work for me and if any of them might work for you. If you've never seen one of my foundation reviews or videos before, there are 3 pretty important things when it comes to discussing complexion products that you should know up front. First, even though I share which skin types would benefit the most from each foundation, it's important that you know my age and skin type. I shared my age in the beginning, and my skin type is combination oily. It's pretty normal and can even be dry around the perimeter, and I get shine and oil breakthrough during the day. So I sort of experience a little bit of everything on my face, which is a challenge in itself. The second thing you need to know is the climate I live in, because our climate makes a difference with how our makeup wears throughout the day. I live in New Orleans, where it is humid, really humid all year long, and it's really hot most of the year. So the climate I live in is really challenging when it comes to keeping makeup on your face, which is one of the reasons why I review foundation and complexion products so much here. I can really put them to the test. And the third is that these are not first impressions. I always test foundations multiple days using no primer, various primers, and different application methods, and I show you clips that I think give you a good picture of my experience with each foundation. Now, I am someone that needs to set my face with powder. You may not be, so I always show you what it looks like both unset and set. Now, the primers and powders that I normally test with and use myself and recommend to you are linked below in my description box, along with everything I'm sharing and wearing in today's video, and as many products as possible are also sourced through YouTube. Now, I want to take a very quick moment in this foundation roundup and share one of my regularly rotated sunscreens that I wear under foundation, under makeup, when I want a radiant, hydrated finish. I've shared it on my channel before. This is the D'Alba Waterful Essence sunscreen. I've shared their spray plenty of times. I use it on a daily basis. I'm partnering with them today to share a little bit more about this in case you're looking for a good daily sunscreen. I like to use Waterful Essence sunscreen as an all-in-one moisturizer, sunscreen, and makeup primer. It's lightweight, absorbs quickly, and it doesn't leave a white cast, and it works well for my sensitive skin, and it doesn't burn my eyes. The key ingredient in here is the same as in the spray, white truffle, which is rich in amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and it has antioxidant properties. And they combine it with vitamin E, which increases its effectiveness. All of that is fantastic for aging skin, fine lines, wrinkles, uneven skin tone, dark spots. It also has really nice ingredients to hydrate and strengthen your skin barrier. You can see a difference in my skin before I applied it here and immediately after, where my combination skin looks really dewy and hydrated. And after letting it absorb and settle into my skin for a few minutes, it has a glowy, healthy radiance without feeling heavy or greasy, and it doesn't pill under makeup. My sensitive skin is really picky with sunscreens, and this has been one of my radiant, healthy sunscreens in my rotation for a while now. So if you've been looking for a sunscreen with that type of finish that can multitask as a moisturizer, sunscreen, and primer for makeup all in one, I'll have this linked below too. Since Estee Lauder Double Wear Liquid Foundation is such a staple here on this channel and is a bestseller and has been for years and years, I am leading off with Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Matte Powder Foundation. I was really excited to try this out. This is a reformulation. This is $52 for 0.42 ounces. There are 40 shades. I grabbed it in 2N2 Buff, which is not a spot-on match to my same shade in the liquid foundation. Once it's on my skin, it's a little bit deeper. Once I realized that, I looked through some reviews and apparently more shades are like that too. I'm guessing that's just how these powder foundation shades are. So 2N2 Buff is described as light medium with neutral, subtle golden undertones. So this reformulation is supposed to be a medium to full coverage powder foundation with a skin-like, comfortable, creamy texture and a powder-free feel. It's supposed to blend in seamlessly and control oil and shine and give you this flawless matte finish that lasts for 12 hours. It's also sweat and humidity resistant. And there is a note here that says, unlike the previous formula, this new formula is not intended to be applied wet or layered on top of liquid foundation, which I found very interesting. I did not try the previous formula of this. I tried an older formula and it did have talc in it. This does not. So I'm guessing this reformulation was to remove the talc. If anybody has that previous formula or happens to have the box with the ingredient list and could provide me with that, that would be much appreciated. I want to say the packaging is really pretty and elegant. It does feel sturdy. It has that nice, elegant snap closure, which I love. And it looks pretty until you start touching it. It has sort of a smooth matte finish that's really hard to keep smooth and clean. I mean, you can see once you get your fingerprints on it, they just don't want to wipe off. So that's my one issue with the packaging, but I love that there's a mirror on top and then you have your sponge in the bottom and there are holes that your sponge can breathe through. And they included a dual-sided applicator for customizable coverage. And I don't notice any scent to this. Now, when I apply this with a brush, I would say I get light to medium coverage that I thought looked pretty good from a normal distance. And then I started noticing that my pores looked exaggerated. You can really see this in the close-up shots, I think. I hope you can. And it started to really go south when I tried to build up coverage with the sponge. It started caking up and looking heavy in certain areas and emphasized my pores even more, which again, I could see close up. I was looking in my 5 times really well-lit magnified mirror. After I finished my makeup, I misted half of my face with my facial spray to see if it would take away that cakey, powdery look, maybe rescue it a bit. I didn't really see much of a difference though. Without a primer, I get some moderate shine midday, but the level of texture and settling that happens at the end of the day is pretty bad. You can also see some shine and some wear on the tip of my nose here in this clip. Note that each day I wore this, it was around 8 to 9 hours, not near the 12 hours that it claims to wear. The other days I wore this, I applied it with a dry sponge and I didn't have any caking issues like I did on that first day, which is really strange to me because I usually have no problems using a brush with powder foundations. I also used some kind of smoothing primer, either Huda Beauty Easy Blur, Hourglass Vanish, Elizabeth Mott Thank Me Later, something like that. And it looked better, though not perfect on pores. It also wore better. Although by the end of the day, I still had some settling in texture happen. This is a late evening shot after being out running errands on a really hot, humid day. And I had just lightly blown my nose, and this is the end of that day. It's basically gone. I usually give you the coverage up front, but I wanted to share that I need to apply this with the sponge. Now, depending on how I build it, I can build this from light medium to medium full coverage. It feels lightweight, and it does stay pretty shine-free if I use both a primer and a setting spray. I do almost always use primers under powder foundations, but you know, I always have to test them to see if they will work without a primer. Being in the climate I'm in and being someone that gets breakthrough shine, primers just help with longevity and with shine breakthrough and keeping powder foundations from breaking down. But I don't usually need them for texture issues like I do with this powder foundation. Every time I wore this, I just always noticed my pores, and that's not usually an issue for me. It also doesn't apply as quickly and seamlessly for me as most powder foundations do, which is kind of the point of a powder foundation. So I went into this thinking I was really gonna love it, and I really did not. I went to look at reviews after and was surprised to see that the reviews are pretty good. I mean, the stars are pretty high, so I seem to be in the minority. And since I got oily with it pretty quickly and showed texture, I guess I would say this would be better if you have normal, non-textured skin. This was just a fail for me, a big disappointment. This is not a powder foundation I am going to go to. I'll stick with the liquid, thank you. I've talked about L'Oreal Infallible Skin Ink 2-in-1 Foundation Concealer in a couple of videos briefly, but now that I've had time to play around with it, get to know it, and test it out more, let's see how it's worked out or hasn't. This retails for $18.99 for half an ounce. There are 22 shades. I grabbed it in 125 Light Warm. They designed this to be a long-wearing 2-in-1 foundation and concealer product. Now for today's video's purposes, I'm just talking about this as a foundation. I will give you my feelings on it as a concealer though here in a minute. It's supposed to grip to your skin so you don't need a primer and be self-setting. Now as far as coverage claims, they just say the coverage is buildable and it evens your skin like a foundation and covers like a concealer to give a soft matte finish. It's supposed to flex with your skin and not cake or crease. It's supposed to feel lightweight and wear up to 48 hours, and it's supposed to be transfer resistant, sweat proof, waterproof, and humidity resistant. Now I'll tell you what I wanted to get from this based on that description, and we'll see if it delivered. So I wanted a thin, lightweight, skin-like foundation that blurred my pores and evened out my skin tone and redness. I wanted it to basically seal itself to my skin all day and last through heat and humidity and keep me shine free without emphasizing dryness. This is silicone based. There is alcohol about 2/3 of the way down the ingredient list. There is a big doe foot applicator. I do notice sort of a faint paint-like scent to this. I don't notice it after it's applied, but I notice it at first. It has a very thin, fluid texture that glides on my skin very, very easily. The shade that I got, 125, looks too yellow and dark when I first swipe it on my skin. I was actually really surprised to see that it does work once it's blended out. Now, when I first tried this on camera and the first time after that, I really did not think this was going to work out for me. But then I played around with it more. You do have to apply this a certain way. Because this dries down and sets so quickly, they recommend applying this shortly after you apply your skincare, unlike most foundations where it's recommended to wait several minutes between your skincare and foundation, or between your skincare and makeup. You want your face to be almost slightly damp or just fresh from skincare. I agree with that. They advise to do that and apply it in small sections. Now, if there's been a time gap of some sort between your skincare and applying this, I would maybe mist your face with some kind of hydrating face spray to rehydrate it just a bit. Just one spritz is enough. It gives a much more seamless blend that way. It gives you more time to blend it out before it sets down. Now, one of the reasons why I thought I was gonna like this after the first couple of times I tried it is because they say it's buildable, the coverage is buildable, and when I tried to layer it over itself, I tried to, add a bit more coverage, it got patchy and sort of lifted the product I had already laid down. So I find it doesn't layer over itself well. So I find it's best to lay down enough product that you need for the coverage level you want from the start. And you can get a gauge for that pretty quickly from the first couple of times you use it. Depending on how much you apply, I find this gives sheer to light medium coverage and sort of a your skin but better look, a more evened out version of your skin. It's not a full beat, full coverage type of foundation. It lets your skin show through, not in a bad way though. It feels weightless. It's very comfortable. I don't notice it on my skin, and it sets down to a soft, natural matte finish initially with no tackiness. And after several minutes, it turns more naturally radiant. And I agree that it flexes with my skin. That is in the claims. Sometimes my foundation will crease in my forehead lines after I've applied my foundation and I've moved on to some other your makeup steps. This doesn't do that. It blurs my pores nicely at first. Now, as far as the self-setting claims go, if you don't get shine breakthrough during the day, you may not need to set this. Because I do get shine, I set this as I do all my foundations, and that keeps it pretty shine free for a while, and it stays on my face the entire day, even through heat and humidity, but it doesn't stay matte. I do get shine with that, and I find that no matter what I do, it just doesn't look as good as I want it to towards the end of the day. Not because of how it wears well. Makeup is still on my face. I just get a bit more shine and texture than I usually like. So while it stays on, the finish doesn't stay the way I want it to. Now, I have dry under eyes with fine lines and texture and dark circles, as many of us do. And I tried this off camera one day as a concealer, and I absolutely hated it. I couldn't get enough coverage because I couldn't build it over itself, as I discussed earlier. And because of how it seals and grips itself to your skin and sets down, I just feel like it emphasized my dryness. So if you have very dry or very textured skin, this may not be ideal for you. On the other hand, if you have very oily skin and live in a humid climate like I do, you could potentially get very oily with it during the day too. Normal or combination skin with minimal texture may do great with that, and there are a lot of people out there like that. I mean, it does last a really long time on the skin, so if you have that skin type, you may want to look into this. One thing I have to point out though is the price. If you are using this as a foundation, there is half an ounce in here. Most foundations have a full ounce, so to get a full ounce of product, you will be paying roughly $38, which is the price of a high-end foundation. I went way more in depth on that with this product and some other products in my drugstore prices are out of control video. I'll have it linked up in the corner and down below in my description box if you want to check it out after this video. So while this is a drugstore foundation, you're getting half the amount of product that you get in most other foundations. I think that's really important to note. First is Merit's affordable brand. It's now available at Ulta. This is the Skin Solution Multi-Serum Skin Tint with SPF 40. It is $19.99 for 1 ounce. There are 14 shades. I grabbed it in shade 4W Light Warm. This is alcohol-free, fragrance-free, cruelty-free, and vegan. And they claim this is a skin-perfecting tint and nourishing serum all in one that's supposed to give you buildable skin-like coverage that feels lightweight and gives this lit from within, hydrated glow that lasts all day. And the SPF in here is mineral in the form of zinc oxide, which is great if you have sensitive skin and have issues with chemical sunscreens. And I wanted to make a note that this has been accepted by the National Rosacea Association as being safe for sensitive skin. It also says this unique sunscreen formula is breathable, nourishing, and good for your skin. It won't clog your pores or irritate. As a sensitive skin girl with rosacea myself, I have had no issues with this foundation. So this is a water-based foundation with sort of a thick texture to it that blends out quickly and easily with any method I've tried. I don't notice a scent to it at all. I can build this from sheer to medium coverage. Before setting, I get a moderately dewy skin-like finish, and after setting, a more natural skin-like finish. It's naturally flattering on my pores and texture and feels completely weightless. It's very comfortable on my skin. On days when I don't wear a primer, I get moderate shine midday, but I get pretty oily with it towards the end of the day, and it tends to settle in my deeper forehead expression line. I forgot to get a clip at the end of the day on my no primer day, but that was my experience. Now with a primer, I get less shine breakthrough during the day and some shine breakthrough by the end of the day, probably because this is skincare infused, but it's not greasy and I don't get any settling. But with or without a primer, the coverage is still there and my makeup stays on my face. This may be too dewy for oily skin types, but if you have combination to dry skin and you enjoy this coverage level and you want a skin tint that looks like skin that gives you some added SPF protection in addition to your skincare, I think this is a really, really nice pick for $20. I personally do wear primer with this just because I get some shine breakthrough, but when I do that, I really, really enjoy this. Now, if you have normal to dry skin, you probably don't need a primer. This is a nice one. I really, really enjoy it. Okay, let's talk about Clinique Even Better Clinical Vitamin Makeup. This retails for $48 for 1 ounce. There are 28 shades. I grabbed it in Light Warm 3. It's fragrance-free and oil-free. This is supposed to be a light coverage, lightweight, vitamin-rich formula that gives you a healthy, radiant finish that lasts for up to 12 hours. It's also supposed to be waterproof and sweat-resistant. It has broad-spectrum SPF 45 in the form of a physical and chemical combination sunscreen. It claims to be a hydrating formula that blends effortlessly and melts into your skin for a smooth application. It has 5 forms of vitamin C, niacinamide, and vitamin E. This is silicone-based and has a runny texture that I thought would apply easily, especially given the claims that says it does. When I applied it with a brush and looked closely in my 5 times magnified, very well-lit mirror, I noticed a grainy, sandy, kind of pilled appearance. It didn't matter if I had sunscreen underneath, which type of sunscreen, or just my skincare with no sunscreen. It just happened every single time. The first time I applied it with a brush, I had to basically slough off the pilling, the grains, and then I blended it out with my fingers, which worked much better. It still looked a bit sandy and kind of like it was settling into my pores. And when I apply it with my fingers, I feel like it has this sort of goopy, rubbery grip to it, almost like it's not setting properly. It's really hard to describe. It works better if I start to swipe it and then pat it into my skin. The only way I found to avoid this situation entirely is if I apply it with no skincare underneath, and that's not going to happen. So even though there's no added fragrance in here, it is technically fragrance-free. The sunscreen smell is strong in this when I'm applying it, and my eyes actually get watery during the day when I'm wearing this. I honestly can't recall another foundation where that's happened to me on this level. That could just be an issue that's isolated to me, so I'm going to proceed with the rest of my review. I get sheer to light coverage with this foundation that takes some time to achieve. This isn't a blended out and go type of light coverage foundation. It takes some time to smooth it out and pat it down and look the way I want it to on my dry or my textured areas. It's one of those strange hydrating foundations that somehow manages to emphasize every bit of dryness or texture that I didn't even know I had before applying this foundation. And I could never get it to settle right around the tip of my nose. It always looked dry and powdery. Before I set it, it looks very dewy and feels tacky to the touch and does not feel weightless. I can feel this on my face. It looks much better after my makeup is finished because my setting powder helps it out a lot, but I can still feel that tackiness even though my makeup is set. The shine and texture progression is pretty fast with this after it's been on my face about 3 hours. It did not matter what the variable was, if there was a primer on my face, if there wasn't, just what was happening. Every time I checked in, if I just looked in the mirror or if I was doing an actual check-in, about every hour and a half or so when I would look at myself just to see what was going on, I would notice things were just continuing to go further and further downhill. So clearly this is not a win for me. There was really nothing that I liked about this, but let's just say hypothetically the finish was nice. Let's just say the result ended up fine. I didn't have all those issues once it was blended out. It sort of seems pointless to me because it's not an effortless blend. It's really difficult to blend it out and to get it to look good on my dry textured areas, which I find so odd. The coverage is sheer to light at best, which is what they claim it is. The SPF is, it's an added bonus, but the scent is extreme. It made my eyes water, and it doesn't wear well throughout the day. I just don't see a point to this. I love some Clinique products, but this is just not one of them. So we did not have many foundation successes in these foundation reviews. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Hopefully the next foundation roundup will have better outcomes. You just never know. At least you're always going to get my honest thoughts in these reviews. I hope you enjoyed this and found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. If you want to see my thoughts on other foundations, you can check them out here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.